Welcome to the Explainer. Today we're tackling a huge question, and our guide for this is a really comprehensive report from the World Bank.
So here's the big question, right? We all see the headlines about climate change, but how do we protect our global economy from the chaos? How do we stop it from taking down the whole system?
Well, the answer, believe it or not, lies in rewiring the world's money. Think about that for a second. The idea is that finance doesn't have to be part of the problem. It could actually be the engine driving the solution.
Okay, so let's start with Section 1, Finance on a Warming Planet. We've got to understand, why is the financial system so absolutely central to this whole challenge?
So when the World Bank talks about greening the financial system, they're really talking about a two-part mission. You can think of it like offense and defense. The offense is all about actively pushing investments toward green goals. The defense? That's about managing all the new risks that climate change is throwing at us to keep the whole system stable.
And that brings us to Section 2. You see, for the financial world, climate change is basically a two-sided coin. On one side, you've got massive, massive risk. But on the other, you've got a huge opportunity.
All right, let's talk about the risk side first. The report breaks it down into two main types. First, you have physical risks. These are the ones we can all picture, right? A cyclone just destroys a factory, or a heat wave shuts down a supply chain. Boom, that's a direct financial hit. But then there's the other kind, transition risks, which are a bit more subtle but just as powerful. This is the financial risk that comes from, well, transitioning to a greener economy. Imagine you own a bunch of coal assets. What happens when a new carbon tax gets passed? Or when solar power suddenly becomes insanely cheap? The value of your assets could just evaporate overnight.
Okay, so that's the scary part. But now, let's flip that coin over to the opportunity side. And the number here, it's just staggering.
$50 trillion. That's the estimated size of the investment opportunity in this global green transition. So this isn't just about playing defense and avoiding losses. No, this is about actively creating the next economy. New tech, new infrastructure, new energy systems. It is without a doubt a massive economic prize.
So you've got this huge risk on one side and this incredible opportunity on the other. How do you navigate that? Well, this is where we get to Section 3, the Policymaker's Green Toolkit. And this is where the World Bank's guide gets super practical.
See, this isn't some vague, wishful thinking. The World Bank has actually laid out 17 distinct toolkits for policymakers. It's a structured, actionable plan that gives governments a real guide for everything they need to do.
And the logic behind it all is pretty straightforward. You can think of it like this. You start with the inputs. Those are the policy toolkits we just mentioned. If you use those tools correctly, you get the outcomes: better risk management and a lot more green investment. And what's the end goal? A financial system that's not only stable, but is actually helping us fight climate change.
All right, so moving on to Section 4, Inside the Toolbox. Toolkit is a nice word, but what does it actually mean? What's in the box? Let's look at a couple of real-world examples.
So, a really important tool is something called a green taxonomy. The best way to think about it is like an official dictionary for green finance. It creates a single, clear, science-based definition for what is and what isn't an environmentally sustainable activity. And why does that matter? Well, it's absolutely crucial for stopping greenwashing. When a company claims something is green when it really isn't. This builds trust, and without trust, the market just doesn't work.
Here's another great example. Green sovereign bonds. It's pretty simple, actually. A government issues a bond just like any other bond, but the money raised has to be used for climate and environmental projects. So if you're an investor and you buy one, you know for a fact that your money is going to fund things like solar farms or new public transit.
And this isn't just some nice idea on paper. Look at this chart. This shows the growth of green bonds just in emerging markets. It went from basically nothing in 2012 to about $250 billion by 2020. The point is, these tools really work, and they are scaling up incredibly fast.
Okay, so let's get to our final section, rewiring the world's money. We've talked about risks, opportunities, and tools. Let's pull it all together and get back to that big central idea from the beginning.
This quote from the World Bank report really says it all. By changing the cost of capital, recognizing externalities, and fixing market failures, the financial sector could act as a strong driver to change corporate behavior and transform the overall real economy towards green growth. I mean, think about that. It's about fundamentally changing the rules of the game. If you make green projects cheaper to finance and polluting ones more expensive, you can literally steer the entire global economy in a new direction.
So, let's just recap the key takeaways.
Number 1, climate change isn't just an environmental problem, it is a huge financial risk. Number 2, the flip side of that risk is a multi-trillion-dollar investment opportunity. And number 3, and this is the hopeful part, we actually have a structured toolkit to manage all this, to reduce the risk and unlock that opportunity. The whole goal is to align the world's capital with climate action.
So that really leaves us with one final urgent question. The tools to green our financial system, they exist. They're real. The plan is there. So the question isn't what to do anymore. The real question is, will we use these tools fast enough? Thanks for joining me.